Oscar winners and losers, Kathleen Kennedy stepping down from Star Wars, Shrek 5 shenanigans, and so much more on this episode of Beyond the Screen. Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Beyond the Screen. There's something different here, Jake. There's something vastly different about our approach to this episode.
I'm gonna point out that he did a little dance while the fake intro was going on. So we're gonna leave it in.
Every time that I do that and I do the pause, I hear it play in my head. And it goes for those of the regular listeners, however many of you, it goes now, wow. And in my head, I play it, and that's when I do the thing and I just say hello. We have webcams now, and you can actually see our face. We can see each other, and we can emote and do what we love to do. You can now see, and I'm letting you know what you're going to see in front of this camera is what I've been doing the entire time. Nothing is changed other than you can just see it now. So going back, and if you listen to all of our old episodes, you can see that or you can imagine that I'm just here throwing my hands about as if you guys could see me anyway. But I'm Ryan, and that is Jake Holtzclaw. We'll be your host today, and as always, I'm going to start with Jake. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I'm okay. It's not a hot take. This is probably the coldest take known to man. But why are there paywalls to watch the Oscars?
For who? Like
Me, bro. Like, if you didn't have cable or over the air, any way to watch ABC, you had to either have YouTube,
Mhm.
Hulu, or whatever the heck AT&T TV Now is. Like, are you kidding me, man? Like, you're lucky I had Hulu, but also they stopped the stream
Yeah.
before Beck's picture was announced. So I was just screwed the rest of the night. Um, I was stuck to Apple News because they were one of the like most updated ones. I could turn on like the live updates and it pops up in like the little island at the top of my screen. It's like, oh, Anora. And I was like, dude, last night just pissed me off for big corporations and TV and streaming services. Um, so
You trusted Disney. That was your first problem. Is Hulu is owned by Disney. And speaking of, so we're later in the show, we're going to talk winners and losers of the Oscars last night, which I thought it was a fun ride. I thought just quick off the bat, I thought Conan did fantastic. But talk about big losers. Hulu, man, got off to a terrible start. Technical
yeah,
issues, the whole nine, and then they didn't even finish. Best lead actress and best picture completely cut from their programming.
yep.
Ridiculous.
And honestly, sometimes you can find like basketball games or football games being live streamed on YouTube. This, nope, nobody. You had the ASL interpreter, and it was just them interpreting, and then you've got like commentaries and people watching it, and then commenting on it, and it's like I don't want to watch two ladies in India commenting on this. Like it's just not like, and that was one of the ones I clicked on. It's just like I'm not watching this. I want to watch the Oscars. So, um, yes, I was peed off. I just went to bed.
Is that why you stopped? We're all in a group chat and we were talking about it, and Jake just stopped. He just quit. I'm
I
in there,
can't be a part of it, man.
dog. I'm in there talking about Anora. Everything's all great, and then Jake just disappeared. He just fell off the face of the earth. I thought you were mad about Anora.
No, well, no.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about that later. Well, I think that's a good point to go ahead and transition into the episode. As always, we start with box office. We're not going to harp on box office like we usually do. One, because it's a very slow weekend. And two, I think the Oscars is a lot more pressing in this week's rendition of Beyond the Screen. So, starting off at number one, Marvel's Captain America Brave New World remains at the top of the box office mountain, capturing its third straight first place crown. Despite earning another $15 million on the weekend, bringing its grand total thus far to $163.7 million domestically and $341.8 million globally, this is a bit of a disappointment for Disney. When you account for marketing and promotion, this film costs around $180 million to make, meaning the film has broken even and it has made a profit. But this is Disney. And when you compare this iteration of Captain America and this film, what was this Captain America 4? It's a disappointment. So, Jake, what do you think about this is $15 million. If this is any other film, this is still a big deal. What do you think about just kind of the overarching feeling from Disney regarding their latest rendition into the MCU?
I think so. And going back, Iron Man wasn't necessarily a crazy win for Marvel, right? When it came out, I don't think it was. I mean, yeah, it did well, and now we look back and it's like, oh yeah, Iron Man 1 was awesome. Or
Yeah.
and then I think even Captain America technically flopped. The first Captain America, um, and I might be getting those mixed up. But I'm pretty sure it was Captain America that just didn't, theoretically, with like marketing budget and whatnot. That is, it did not do well. So I wonder if they're gonna like kind of write this off as like, oh, we have to build the universe again and whatever. But
Yeah.
honestly, I don't think people wanted to see it. But that's just like the general consensus that I got. That's just two sides of the coin. I think Disney's gonna take the route like, oh, we just have to build it up again. And I was thinking about it earlier today, and I was like, they do have RDJ as Doctor Doom, and I could see that movie probably putting butts in seats. And so that might be the thinking, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we've talked about this before. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
it. I think the reason this film isn't doing as well as Disney had hoped, which again, it's making an insane amount of money worldwide. It's just the fact that people feel like it's so far removed from its original content. Like, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was 5 years ago. Um, and I think that that's probably where people have the biggest problems. They just don't remember. Because, like, I'm not going to lie, if I watched a series 5 years ago and then its sequel media, say film, whatever, came out a half a decade later, I am not rewatching Falcon and the Winter Soldier just so that I can go see this movie, especially when I don't feel like, if you take into account exactly how this went, who in their right mind was like looking at this film's marketing and saying, this is going to be $1 billion movie? You know, who was looking at this and saying this is going to be the best Marvel, one of the best? It just, no one was. So with that on top of it, I'm not rewatching, I should say, Falcon and the Winter Soldier just so that I could be reminded. So I get it, but I don't know. I did you see where there was an artist who had made some concept art for the next Avengers movie and they accidentally released it and everything looked pretty cool and then wiped. I mean, this artist's like their portfolio website doesn't exist anymore. Like their social media is scrubbed. They just, Kevin
Wow.
Feige sent the entire League of Assassins after this man or woman or whoever it was, and they just don't exist online anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, did anybody, let's do a welfare check on that person.
Yeah, if
Let's see
you
if there's,
if you are that artist, just blink if you're okay. Blink if you need help. Actually, let us know. That'd be very nice to us checking on our audience, Jake.
yeah, yeah.
Beyond the
That
screen
that's
listeners.
that's one of our listeners out of all
Yeah, that's
20
our
of them.
one German listener.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
them.
Or the Russian.
Or I don't know. I don't know. Maybe.
Mm.
Maybe. Anyway, moving
All
down the
right.
line, capturing second place's focus features Woody Harrelson starring thriller titled Last Breath. Capturing a respectable 7.8 million, the story of survival about the rescue of a stranded deep sea diver has overwhelmingly positive reviews. The film is actually based on director Alex Parkinson's 2019 documentary of the same name, which I thought was interesting that this filmmaker was like, I'm not done with this story. I'm going to cast Woody Harrelson and we're going to make it a cinematic experience. And people love it though. Like apparently it's like very well received.
Yeah, I remember reading about it and I was like, this is insane story. Never did it cross my mind that it could possibly be on the big screen. And I think how they accomplished it was pretty awesome too, if I remember.
Yeah.
So good on it. And Woody Harrelson always going to be a watch. This is also one of those movies that generally will show up on your dad's TV and he'll be napping in his recliner while it plays.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so
I mean, this is late night television feast or famine right here. I mean, this is
yeah,
going to be all the time. I will say
yeah.
it had me hooked in the trailer when I cannot remember the actor's name. It wasn't Woody Harrelson, but when you were about to watch as the tether was going to break and the deep sea diver was going to like just kind of get flung in the distance, and he says, Don't, like, you have to calm down, you have to stay alive. I will find you." And like that stuff. I don't know what it was, but it got my blood pumping a little bit just in the theater, and I was like, huh. So it's kind of cool to see it succeed, especially with its backstory. Moving down the line, finishing third is Neon Pictures' The Monkey from Osgood Perkins, earning another 6.5 million on its total. Or over this weekend, sorry, its earnings for Osgood Perkins' second feature-length film has dropped nearly 55%. So week over week, its earnings have dropped over half. And that apparently isn't due to a lot of its cinema score, which was a C plus, which is below even the average horror film, which is about a B or a B minus. This, however, might not mean much to Neon, as the film only costs around 10 million to produce, meaning the film is still very profitable after 2 weeks. It has made 24.5 million domestically and 31.2 internationally. So this is still for Neon a very successful film. It was a lot of what happened in the same breath with Longlegs, which was Osgood Perkins' first film, which released last summer. That one was a glorified, certified hit because of the memes that came out of it, right? Same thing that happened with Nosferatu is people loved it and they thought it was funny, and or like the memes that came out of it, people watched it. And while Osgood's first film was good, it had problems, and I feel like we talked about this on the show, maybe not in depth. But to see his second still have those same problems and people still have issues with story is a little bit disheartening, because Osgood Perkins is like, he's got the tools to be like Robert Eggers, but with his own flair. And it just doesn't seem like he can stick the landing with his stories. Whereas Eggers is so specific. He is so precise. It just gets you excited when you see someone who could maybe resemble that, or maybe be someone in the same, I don't even want to say the same breath, but someone who, when you think of Eggers, you also think of Perkins. But that's just not going to happen unless things change. There has to be a focus on story.
Yeah, so and I wonder what marketing is like for Neon, being that, that small of a budget, whereas other movies, like, I don't even want to know what Captain America's marketing budget was.
Oh my God. Yeah.
It'll make me cry how much they threw out on that.
Dude,
So
Captain America, to go back a little bit, that cost $180 million to produce. They made 341, and they're talking like they haven't broken even yet. That's how much they probably spent.
which is crazy, because if this film is like, this is very profitable, we made 25 domestically,
Yeah.
31 internationally. And it's like, wow, y'all spent what, a tenth, or even less than
Yeah.
Captain America. And I saw a lot of monkey ads. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
lie, like, I saw a lot of those ads. Now, I might be more demographic than I was for Captain America. It's all algorithm based anyway.
Yeah.
But if you're putting monkey on screens for a tenth as much, dude, that's a win. It's a win all day.
Yeah. I don't know. It seems now Neon's an indie distributor, so it's like they don't, obviously you can't compare the two, but when you do, or at least you look at the numbers like you just painted, it's so it's mind boggling. Like, it's beyond that. That's an understatement, but it's like, oh my God. Because, Neon's happy. And now, of all the things Neon has to be happy about, this is probably the bottom of their totem pole. They're just like, and we made 20 million. But
Yeah.
we'll talk about that later. Moving on down the line, finishing fourth, Paddington in Peru, which is Sony's third installment into the Paddington franchise, again finishes fourth domestically in its third overall week in U.S. theaters, earning another 4.5 million. The film has earned 31.3 in the States and 164.3 internationally. Then, to round out the top five, Dogman concludes the top five, which is DreamWorks again. Dogman is a DreamWorks film. Finishes fifth in its fifth week in theaters. With this, Jake, we don't really have a lot of movement, not really a lot of new pieces here. What do you think?
Yeah, nothing really came out either. I'm looking. We got, well, Last Breath. That's it.
Yeah.
And second place, couldn't even get out Captain America. I was gonna mention uh, Mufasa, still sixth, still hanging on.
Mm.
It's only making 1.9 million this week, but still there. Can we crack 250 domestic?
The fact that
Um,
it has outlasted Hard Eyes, which is it's a month in, it's fourth week exactly, and Hard Eyes is seventh behind Mufasa.
Wow. And Mufasa's on. We've been talking about this practically how long the podcast has been going.
Mm-hmm.
11 weeks now. That's, folks, that's 77 some odd days
Mm-hmm.
that that movie's still going top 10. So either that says a lot or very little about how the box office is going right now.
Yeah, 706, almost 707 million internationally for Mufasa.
Yeah.
This has been a very slow week for cinema. I mean, obviously, I think that was probably intentional. I don't know who in their right mind, what distributor outside of who was it, Focus, that did Last Breath? Yeah, that looked at Oscar weekend and said, we could still get in. Like let's release one right at the buzzer. But no, overall very slow week. A lot of the same players. I mean, if there is a winner, I think the fact that it would have to be Mufasa being top 10, top 6 this many weeks in. I don't know how you can't, like we talked about Last Breath, coming out in a slow weekend, finishing 7th and challenging at the very least almost 8 million, challenging Disney and Disney money just because Disney's going to make money.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's not really a lot to say, which I think is intentional. Is there anything that we look forward to in the coming weeks, or do we just want to go ahead and move on?
Um, I'm only thinking about like Lilo and Stitch, the live action, but that's a long way away. I would like also to mention, I'm scrolling down through here. I don't see that Chinese film. I don't see Neza
I
2.
wonder if that got released or
Um,
removed. Sorry.
I mean, it was still making 3 million on the 900 some odd theaters that it was in, and now it's nowhere to be found on the
Ooh.
top 59 in the box office. And then I actually did see while I was also scrolling that Oppenheimer is still in top 59. I lost it now, but it's somewhere in here. It was making,
Do, huh? Hold
um,
on.
yeah, yeah. Well, I might have to
I
control
see
F it
Attack
now,
on
but
Titan down here.
it's 26th underneath Conclave in its
How?
85th week.
How?
85
How?
weeks later, there's 80 theaters still playing Oppenheimer,
That's just a cash
making a
grab.
hundred,
Come on, man.
making 140,000 this week, still playing. Oh
Universal's still
man,
raking in money.
they got to pay the janitors.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's insane. It's above,
Yep.
dude. It's above Nickel Boys, which was a Oscar nominee this just yesterday.
And the
The
substance.
Substance is below it.
Yep. So wow, that is crazy, crazy. Which kind of talks about in our last segment too. We'll come back to how long should movies be in movie theaters?
Yeah, actually, we do talk about that, and that actually does circumvent a point made by the AMC CEO, which you'll hear in our last segment. What with that, I think that this will be a perfect ending to our first segment. So coming up after the break, Oscar reactions, winners and losers, and the like. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to Beyond the Screen. You've made it to segment 2, Oscar reactions. I mean, I don't know what else to preface here. I mean, you knew this was coming. We talked about maybe doing a special. It didn't pan out. Too busy. However, you knew we were going to talk about the Oscars. So if you came to this episode hoping to stop hearing about what happened on ABC or Hulu last night, sorry if you were on Hulu. Sorry, Jake. You were sadly mistaken because we're talking about the Oscars.
Dude, I'm not paying money for all these dang streaming services just to watch Oscars. And I looked it up. I'm gonna rant about it again, okay? And I'm gonna do it so you can actually see I'm gonna rant about it again because I looked at it. It's like, where can I watch the Oscars? And it lists all these things. And it's like, but if you don't have any of these streaming services, they have free trials. And I'm like, I'm not doing no free trial because they're still gonna want my credit card.
Yeah.
Then I have to cancel it. And I mean, I would cancel it like immediately after, which also, by the way, Apple TV gave me 3 months when I bought my phone, turned it on. And I was like, oh, so I don't forget. I'm just going to cancel it now. They're like, no, sorry. That's like you end your subscription if you cancel.
That was just last week.
Yeah, which is insane. I canceled it right away. I wouldn't deal with that crap.
Yeah.
No, that whole trickery doesn't work on me.
Too smart.
So
Too smart.
anyway, Oscars.
So
The ones that I did see.
I'm going to go out of order of the script because everyone knows what film we're going to talk about because it's by far and away the biggest winner of this past weekend. So there's no need to jump into that right away. I think it's more important and I think more interesting to hop into the losers. So starting off our losers list, at least my losers list, and Jake, please add to this afterwards if you could think of any, have any, or add any insight. Emilia Perez was my first big loser. And it's because, man, this is the most nominated film in the entire event. 13 nominations, which was one away from tying a record, okay, for any film ever. That's this is not a small ordeal. Came away with how much? It 2, 3 wins? Let me see here. Hold on. 13. One-time Oscar darling Emilia Perez came away with only 2 wins. That was for, well, Zoe Saldana won Best Actress in a Supporting Role, and then they won Best Original Score, which was for El Mal, which was the big song, which I think Zoe Saldana sang. So after all of that, after everything that transpired, how much do you think? I don't know how to word this. Were they robbed? Do you think that they were originally pegged to win some of these awards and then they just got changed at last minute because of Gascon and her tweets? Or was it the AI? I'm interested to hear your perspective.
Um, I mean, I can go full conspiracy theorist and say, yeah, they got canceled. Hollywood straight up disowned them and was like, nah, get out. But I don't really know, honestly, because I watched Anora before the Oscars. I watched it like last week, and it was pretty darn good. It had me pretty enveloped throughout the whole film, and there was not a part that I was bored. Now, um, it was pretty graphic. I mean, it is not for the younger audiences, that's for sure. And had me if you guys haven't seen it, I'm not gonna spoil it, but like I will say that Igor is probably my favorite guy. Um, Even though there's anyway, but like Igor, that's
Igor
my
for the
dude.
W.
I was rooting for him the whole time, and he's still got. I mean, it's a tragedy through and through, folks.
I have so much to say about that film, and again, we're gonna save it probably for last. But yeah, if you're gonna watch Anora, the story doesn't really begin until about 40 minutes in. The first 40 minutes is a lot of laying the groundwork. So be prepared, and it is very graphic. I don't know. I think with everything I've seen and just the way the nature of the Oscars, and we'll talk about the Academy later. We have another in our next segment. We have another interesting tidbit about voters and whatnot. However, I do in fact think that Emilia Perez was probably tabbed to win a lot more, just because of what it says socially. I think it fits with what the Academy tries to portray, and that they don't hide it. It's not even political. It's just the way that they like to hand out awards. Not that Emilia Perez, I don't really have anything against it, but if it did win Best Picture, there were already outlets calling it, if it does win back before this past Sunday, it would have been the worst Oscar winner ever, because like that's just the media consensus, or at least from some outlets, the overarching social media consensus was that it's a terrible movie. But because of what it was able to accomplish in terms of a story, it's one of those movies that the Oscars just seem to have fell in love with. I mean, it was through and through an Oscar darling. And I truly believe that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, there was a great effort to get things changed. I don't know when those votes become finalized. It could have been a week ago. But if you would have asked me a month ago, I would have said Emilia Perez or Wicked. So I am shocked to see, even now after all that's transpired, to see Emilia Perez win 2. I mean, it just feels like there was such a seismic shift in kind of what people were looking at. Looking down the line, continuing down the losers. And again, this is a list I made, Jake. So add whoever you feel like, or add to whatever you want. Conclave, I think it was a big loser on the weekend, and for more things than or for more reasons than not. It's not its fault, is what I'll say. Winning only one of its 8 nominations, and that was for Best Adapted Screenplay by Peter Stragan. Going down the list here, The Wild Robot, and I'm wanting to pause on this one after I get through my little tidbit, because Jake, I know you have a strong opinion about The Wild Robot. Despite being nominated 3 times, DreamWorks' The Wild Robot walks out empty-handed. It didn't win a single award, and if I remember correctly, it didn't win anything at the Golden Globes either. Its biggest loss comes in the form of the Best Animated Feature category, in which the Oscar hopeful again lost to Upstart Flow. This is the second time in 3 months, again at the Golden Globes and now at the Oscars, that The Wild Robot loses to Flow. Again, Jake, you have a strong opinion about this. Tell me what you saw, what you think from this.
So I have seen both, and like I just felt like the Wild Robot told the story that I've always been looking for, the Wall-E-esque story, the Incredibles. Like there's story there. Like the Wild Robot has a simple, from hardship to growing and becoming a family, and breaking down the barriers of a bear can live with a deer in a small little hut to bear the winter. And it's just, I think it's a beautiful story, and one we need more of in terms of animated shorts, or not animated shorts, but like animated in general, and kids movies. Is like that's what makes a movie for the next generation to look back on, like we look back on Wally and Incredibles, and all
Mm,
these like early 2000s stuff. Like I feel like The Wild Robot is that, but honestly, I'm not sure if it will be or is. And Flow, I don't know if it's the fact that probably not not the fact that it doesn't have dialogue, but it's just like I'm just following a cat, I guess, and through a flood, and he's like making friends, and I can infer, and I guess it won over it because it's not necessarily been done before, and that might have been why it was more of a favorite, just because it's like, oh, this is new. And like I'm looking at it and I was like, I've played video games that look better than this movie.
yeah.
um and I'm not saying that to knock the people who put a lot of time and effort into it. It's just like I don't know. I did not expect Flow to beat it out. um so goes to show me, first time watching the Oscars in a while, and 100% didn't think the Golden Globe mattered. Had it pegged Wild Robot going to come out on top regardless, and I was proven wrong. And honestly, Flow ended kind of like, oh, really? That's
Mm,
it? I I 100% expected another ending, or like I don't know, it wasn't as happy, it wasn't as sad, it was just kind of like a meh ending. Whereas the Wild Robot was, I mean, it ended correctly. It's how you end it.
yeah.
So, uh,
I think you're like right on the money. I To be honest, I think it's because it was made by such a small company. Like you have DreamWorks versus this. I don't even remember what the company name is, but like they're Latvian, if I remember correctly. And I mean, they're just tiny. It might even be just a couple of people. Like it's so small, and they were able to create something with so much impact and so much quality, that I feel like that aspect to it overwhelmed voters. Whereas DreamWorks is DreamWorks. I mean, this is like comparing Neon to Disney. I mean, DreamWorks to some, indie animation company in the middle of Eastern Europe. So I think that would probably be the majority of it. But I think I'm curious. We strip that away, and you're looking at strictly stories. And I know you mentioned a little bit like you talk about feel. So the Wild Robot gave you that Wally feel and that incredible feel versus Flow didn't. What specifically like makes you think that the Wild Robot is so much better? At least its story is so much better.
Um, so I am left to, and this goes back to like my hand holding conversation as well. The Wild Robot, I mean, it holds your hand like any other movie with dialogue, like you know who the people are. Whereas like Flow, it was, I mean, I gotta put a personality to this cat, even though it is like that cat has a lot of personality to begin with. And then there's also, I think, a ring-tailed lemur. There's a capybara, and then there's like a crane of sorts, and
Mm,
they all have these different personalities. And you can see that, and so you're telling the story yourself, pretty much. And it's just, I don't know if I'm big on that. I just didn't. I sat through it, and that's the perfect way to describe it. Is I sat through Flow. I was not captivated as much. I mean,
hmm
yeah, it's a flood, so like some things got a little bit more higher risk, higher stakes, and I was like, okay, this is getting good. And then it's just kind of like, cat swimming. Like there's so much cat swimming that
Yeah.
I can watch, and I'm like, there were a lot of like decisions that animals made that I wouldn't have made if I was in that, but that's me talking as a human.
Mm,
um and it's just kind of like, well, the Wild Robot, just, I thought it's just one of those ones that I look back on, and it can go up on the shelf, whereas
yeah.
Flow was just another one that I sat through.
I think that brings up an interesting topic, and it's one as old as time, as at least as old as the Academy is like, what makes a film best? Like because the thing is that if you're taking it like this, you hear like best in show, but you also hear like best accomplishment. It's kind of like what you hear things phrased as. It's like best accomplishment in cinematography, best accomplishment in, and if you do that, is that story based? Because the thing is, you have best script. you have best director, which depending on your where you lie on the whole author in or authorship in film, either or can be the true storyteller in that, right? But and so um, it's really interesting to see kind of that the dichotomy of like where does the idea of like because everyone wants to talk about the screenwriter, everyone wants to talk about the director, everyone wants to talk about the producer, but in this instance with a animated feature, is it accomplishment based off of the animation, is it accomplishment based off of the
Right.
story? Because in if we're going off of the first, I think that is why Flow won, because Flow is again what we were just talking about. It is an accomplishment in the fact that that small group beat the odds, made this amazing story with. I mean, the art is beautiful. I mean, it is such a visually aesthetic, like it's just so pleasing, and it is a work of art. All these films are a work of art. I mean, we can be real here. We're not trying to like devalue one over the other. But like, I think that's probably where there needs to be, at least in my opinion, because there's too much subjectivity in the Oscars. If there's any critique, and I think that this is where that I think that is very like apparent, is because it's like if you were going off of story, The Wild Robot was the best of all of them. I mean, it doesn't matter. You can look at Inside Out 2, you can look at what was
Wallace and Gromit.
Wallace and Gromit. Thank you. I kept Vengeance or Most Foul or what I kept trying to say that title. But yeah, Wallace and Gromit, Inside Out 2, Flow, and there was another one. But
It
whatever.
was The Memoir of a Snail.
Yeah, that's it. If you take all those films and you stack them up with a story, Wild Robot dominates. But the fact of the
Yeah.
matter is, you take the real world creating of that film into account, which is not like if that's what makes Best Picture, that has to be apparent, and it's just not. And so that's kind of where I think like again like if Emilia Perez is the Best Picture, if you have it tabbed for months and months and months, that's going to be Best Picture. You know what I mean? There shouldn't be outside perspective changing it 2 weeks out. Like, so that I think that's where there's a problem. And I think that specifically now, Amelia Perez is a lot different because I don't think it was Best Picture to begin with. You know, like that's way different. And this is a lot more subjective because depending on your view of how that story is told, you could definitively argue that Flow is better. But you can only argue that Flow is better based off of the creators and like how it was made and how they beat the odds in real worlds, not so much what's on screen, which you're awarding what's on screen. You know, does that make sense? Like, are you following? That's
Yeah.
just kind of how I take that because there is definitely. I think you're pointing out a glaring problem.
So and I talked about this I think a little bit before I began watching a lot of the nominees, and it'll piggyback off of Ryan's idea is the categories that people vote on for the Oscars are subjective, and not oftentimes they are not quantifiable as much as a best screenplay or best adapted, best original screenplay. I can read a screenplay and tell you, yeah, that one definitely better than this other one.
Yeah.
Quantifiably, this screenplay is better. You tell me to choose best animated feature and then don't tell me if it's based on animation, accomplishment, and like what you had said is there's so many different variables that go into best picture. And then you're also talking about best cinematography. And it's like, well, to me, best picture, best cinematography, what are we actually talking about here? Are we
Yeah.
talking about how everything comes together for best picture? And that's like the actors, that's the music, that's like everything coming together, and it's an amalgamation, an average across it. Because I start thinking about it like an Excel sheet, dude, and I'm start putting in the numbers like out of 10 under costume, sound, editing, director, screenplay, and I'm doing all these out of 10,
Mm.
and to me that's best picture. And so
Yeah.
and it's not quantifiable like that. You can't put a number to best picture as well as you can put it on maybe editing. Like, yeah, I mean, editing was awesome in I believe Anora won it, right? Didn't
Yeah.
they win
Yeah.
editing as well?
Mm-hmm.
So it was great editing as well. um Held the shots the correct amount of time, even, and there are some shots that I was like, oh man, this is a long shot, this is, and it meant something, like it stood out to me, but it felt like it was on purpose that it stood out to me.
Yeah.
And that's something that always catches my eye is like, oh man, this, they actually chose a really long time to hold that shot, and it makes you think is like, well, this is for a reason. um because and there's one shot it's where they're on a pier with Igor, if you guys have seen the movie, walking behind Anora, and it's just the tension between them because I can feel Igor wanting to initiate conversation, but knowing it's just going to end up in failure.
Yeah, comfort
Um,
her
it,
almost.
anyway, yeah, he wants to be there, but like there's already a level of disconnect and hatred
Yeah.
from her between them for prior actions, and it just holds it a little long. And I was like, dang, did that on purpose, didn't they?
Yeah.
So that at that point, it is quantifiable for me to be able to say, yes, that was really good editing. Uh, but like best animated feature, I'm going off of what makes me feel like a kid, and I was bored through Flow. I was not in the Wild Robot.
Yeah, and I think that it has to be a mixture of the two things. Like I described the subjectivity. It's art. There has to be subjectivity, right? But also, I think that you made a good point. Is that like, and that's actually something that like was running through my head too. And I'm happy you hit it because now we can talk about it. Is you can go through and make guidelines, strict guidelines to say it has to have this, 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 this. And I think that you're right to say that the guidelines should just be best picture should be best amalgamation or best quantity of all these things. So it's like Anora, which again, winning all the awards it did, and we'll go into that in detail here in a second. Um, it makes sense that it also won Best Picture. But the thing about like another one easily could have won Best Cinematography was The Substance. The Substance is a fantastic. It looks stunning. The shots are fantastic. In fact, that's probably the best thing about it. Not that the story's bad. It just me specifically. I don't know if you can tell. I don't conform to female beauty standards, and it's shocking. I know. But like, so the story didn't necessarily resonate with me. I understand that it's like a problem, and I understand that there's like issues with it that are beyond my even comprehension because I just don't have that perspective. But like, so for me, I wouldn't give The Substance Best Picture, but I would definitely, like you had said, you can like space it out, and you like I would definitely give it Best Cinematography, if not for Anora. On that note, that same like breaking of this of like I guess sectioning out what makes a good film. That doesn't happen in animation because you can't to an extent. But also it's like I feel like again, if you're going to go for best animated feature, there has to be some other element besides story because you can have best like adapted screenplay or best original screenplay, but both of those are also competing. Like animation screenplays are also competing with regular screenplays. So it's like, should there be a best adapted animated feature, like screenplay? Because at the end of the day, like Wild Robot would have won. If that's what they should have won, then that they should exist. But also, it's I don't know. It's such a complicated thing because I don't think Flow was better than the Wild Robot. But I think when you take into account all that it went through to get to where it is and how improbable it is that it's even on that stage, I think then yeah, sure, you can give it. If that's what the best picture animated feature is, then fine, it won it. But I feel like it's the phrase like the moving the goalpost. Every year that goalpost is being moved, and it feels like it's being moved for certain pictures. It's like, oh, like we want Flow to win. So this year, animated feature is not going to be about the story. It's going to be about what all went into its creation. And it's like, okay, so we're DreamWorks. We're just going to spend less money on these big production companies, and we're going to try to hire less people so that we can have a better story. Well, then the next time that they're nominated, they don't have as good a story, but they have, but now it's the best picture. Now it's the best story, and Disney beats them out for something. And it's like, what are you supposed to do?
So you keep moving the goalposts, you're never going to have the next best thing because
No.
nobody knows what to top. Because if Flow is now top dog and we have to top Flow,
How?
they're going to work. I mean, they're going to work either less or more, or
There,
um,
there has to be some guidelines that still allow for subjectivity. There has to be something that says, okay, like here are these things that each film has to have, but after that, it can be whatever the voters think. Like that's fine. But the fact of the matter is, there's nothing. It's literally just whatever people have. What's got the most hype? That's really it. And I just think that is a bad precedent. And I think it's been a bad precedent.
oh, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, it's time to move down the line. We spent a long time on
so
Flow. I knew we would.
cat movie, cat movie go burr, and apparently the Academy
The Academy
agreed.
went, "Aw," and then it said,
Oh,
"Here you go."
yeah. So if I had to go off of girlfriend crying meter, she definitely cried more during Flow, but she told me it was like, if Flow wins, I swear to God. And I was like, what do you mean you cried more during Flow?
That's so funny.
And she's like, yeah, but it wasn't like I didn't want to. I just didn't like seeing a cat struggle the entire movie. I cried during The Wild Robot because it made sense.
Yeah. It was emotionally like it hit you in the feels, but it didn't make you feel tragedy for the cat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't animal abuse crying. It was actual emotional, like, this is a great story crying.
Yeah.
So,
Moving down the line, we've got our last loser, at least that I have listed out. And then again, Jake, if you want to add any more, Timothée Chalamet, I think, is probably the worst loser of everybody tonight. Outside, you can add Hulu, you can add Gascon, whoever you want. I think it's Timothée Chalamet because this man had two Best Picture nominees, films he had starred in. He led, did not win a single award. Dune won a couple. Dune won, I think, like best special. No, that I think that was The Substance. I'll find it, but it won some award somewhere, and it did very well. Dune by itself, Dune 2 performed very well as a overarching like thing, like edit, like not in editing, but like in feel. But in terms of acting, Timothée Chalamet wasn't nowhere. He wasn't anywhere to be seen. Same thing for A Complete Unknown, which arguably was better than Dune. So, Jake, what do you think about in terms? You're gonna have to read what you just typed, but in terms of like Timothée Chalamet and the Academy, why is Chalamet seemingly being overlooked for singular awards by the Academy?
sorry, I'm still typing. I said W. Adrian Brody, and then I'm quoting him and says, "I've done this before. Turn off the music. I still have like something to say." And I was like, "Dude, no way. He's got that much pull in in the Oscars." He's like, "I've been up here before. Turn the music down. I have stuff to say. I still have to like." And I was like, "Wow, Adrian Brody's up there commanding it." Okay, but he's overlooked. I mean, wasn't Timothy apparently. Ryan says his name different than I've ever heard it. But
I
I think
dude,
as we grow,
there's that Graham
you'll
Norton
find
segment
out.
where he goes, "Is it Timothée or Timothée?" And he goes, "I don't care." So I'm calling him what I've always called him.
Okay, fine. If he says he doesn't care, it doesn't matter. But something you'll learn about Ryan is he likes to pronounce things alternatively. I'm not even going to say wrong or anything like that, but it's what he does. It's what I love him for it.
My brain worked
But
funny.
so a lot of people wasn't Timothy one of the youngest? Is that wrong? Wasn't
Yes,
he gonna be one of the youngest to get an Oscar?
in
Or
2017, I don't know if he was the youngest to ever been nominated, but he was nominated for first Call Me by Your Name, which was like in 2017. He was like it broke his career. Like I mean that is the film, and he was nominated for Best Actor, and then he was nominated again this year. I've seen people online say that the Academy is pulling a DiCaprio with him.
yeah,
They
I was gonna
just
say close enough. Welcome back,
yeah,
DiCaprio.
yeah. Literally, like on the everyone online, like everywhere I've seen anyone talking about anything Timothée or Timothée, whatever his name is, because now you called it out. Now I'm going to say it three different ways. But the anything Chalamet online is talking about how he got scuffed and scrubbed. I mean, it's terrible. And I to be honest, I think I kind of have this thing where every time I watch a Chalamet movie, I feel like he's the same person, just in a different font. I don't necessarily like now. Not to say he's not a fantastic performer. He's a great actor. He deserves a nomination and probably a win when you have two of your films in 1 year nominated for Best Picture. You probably should have at least a look. And no one ever talked about Chalamet winning Best Actor. No one. Because like if you think about it, it was who was it going to be? It was Brody, as you said, and Ray Fiennes. That was it. Like really, like who else was it going to be? And no one was talking about Chalamet like he was had any shot. And I guess my question is, should he have? Because again, look at the movies that he's been in.
So you didn't mention Sebastian Stan as Trump in that.
You're fired.
So yeah, I didn't think Stan was gonna win that one.
I,
It
I
was
I truly feel like he was in there just for like a political statement. I feel like the Academy was like, "Ugh," and
Well, they had their political statements as well, so it's not like it's completely void of either side. Um,
And
there
I'm
were
not
other,
saying that,
yeah,
audience, to say that I pick one side or the other. I
no,
just think it's funny. That's all.
yeah. There's a lot of politics and everything.
Those that
Hollywood
know
in
me know where
general.
I lie.
Yeah, he lies a lot. Anyway,
I'm never telling the truth. I'd be
he
fibbing.
never says it. No. Sometimes he just be yapping about either side. Depends on who's talking to him at one time. He
Yep.
flip flops.
Hmm.
Fence sitter.
I won't, dude.
Anyway, sorry.
Don't even get me started.
Let's not get political here, but this is
That is a
king of
joke,
the
by the
fence
way.
sitters here.
That is a joke,
So
by the way. Continue.
yeah, I think Timothy got robbed. He should have at least, he should have been up there. And I think you have something in segment 3 about
Yeah.
what would you Ray? No,
It
sorry,
was definitely about
Ralph.
his name's Ralph Fiennes, but I've heard it
Yeah,
called Ray
Ralph.
too.
Yeah, is that the same guy?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, Ray Fiennes. Okay, so I'm not completely an idiot.
No.
Note that, chat.
Clip that.
Chat, don't clip that. Don't clip that. So I don't know. Adrian Brody, I think he deserved it. Sorry to say that, like, Timothy wasn't gonna beat my bro. I'm gonna say that. He wasn't gonna do it.
Guys,
So
this man right here, he's got two people. It's Ryan Gosling and it's Adrian Brody. If there's
yeah,
ever any film with one of those two people in it, you bet he's going to be in that audience.
yeah. And the only reason I didn't get to see the Brutalist is because I couldn't get my hands on it. Because I would have. And I'm gonna make it a point. Like, I've seen a lot of Adrian's stuff, but I haven't seen all of it, and I'm gonna try and do that this year. I think that's gonna be my late resolution. Is I'm gonna try and watch all the Brody films.
he's
'Cause I've seen a
in
lot.
he's in an Anderson film that I absolutely adore.
He's in a lot of Anderson films.
There's one
Um,
well, he's in the is it French Dispatch?
yeah,
He's
and then
all
he's in Grand Budapest Hotel, and then he's in the
yeah,
new one, isn't he? He's in.
that's
Is
right.
he in
I forget
Asteroid
he was in
City?
that many. The one I was thinking was the Darjeeling Limited or whatever. It's the train
Yeah.
one with him and the
So
Wilsons.
it makes it super easy to watch all the Brody films because I already like Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
So Um, yeah, I don't think there's much more. I can touch on like Wicked. I was betting from the beginning production design all day. After watching Wicked, I was like, "Yep, that's 100% production design." Sorry to Dune, but it was it was Wicked all day. And then I was not surprised at the substance. I believe wasn't it makeup?
Yes.
Yeah, after I didn't even watch it, but seeing the photos, that grotesque monster-like thing, and then the ending, yeah,
I'll
it
say
was
the
gross.
substance the ending is so funny. I was telling someone the other day, I feel like the substance,
It's
like
me.
I was on the edge of my seat the entire time, and then I paused it because I had to use the bathroom. And when I paused it, I noticed there were 20 minutes left, and I was like, "How? How are there still like?" And I don't do that. I love long films. Like Jake can attest, I do like longer films. So I was shocked because like it was like, how did they still have story? And I know this is sidetracked from what you're saying. It won best makeup, and
Well, that I mean,
hairstyle.
that was pretty much my thought. It was like
Yeah,
I saw just photos, and I was like, "Dang, that's awesome what they did."
yeah.
But
They're our first winner, by
continue
the
your
way.
thought.
We'll transition. They're our first winner, big winner. It's The Substance. It's a horror film that got nominated. Was a ton of different categories. Best Picture nominated. Won Best Hair and Makeup, or yeah, best yes. And it was fantastic. But so it was like 20 minutes to go. I'm like, oh my god! Like I feel a conclusion coming on. How do they have so much longer? So then anyway, for me, it feels like the director was like, or the writer, whoever had call on the story was like, how do I end this? He was like, what do I do? And he talked to the first person he could, and they were like, what if she like sprayed the audience with blood? And he was like, that's a good idea. Because there was a point to where like, if you've not seen it, I'm sorry to spoil. She turns into a giant monster amalgamation of her two personalities, and then she gets attacked because she goes to the stage anyway. She gets attacked, and then her arm breaks off on a mic pole, and she just starts spinning in circles, spraying copious amounts of blood everywhere. And there, it's just the funniest thing because like it's a top down shot of her spinning, and you just see this like she looks like a fire hose just spinning. And then it does like these quick cut pans, or like it's like a boom, like zoom onto like Dennis Quaid's face, and he's like, ah, he's like covered in blood. And they do it to like three other random people in the audience, and it is so funny. And I just remember, like, I remember laughing. I was like, this is awesome. This is dope. I love the way this looks. It's hilarious. This does not fit this character. This does not fit this story. And I'll say it till I'm like blue in the face. I'll say it to anyone who will listen to me rant about the substance. It's not meant for me. It's just not. Like, it doesn't hit me in the same way. I'm not affected by all the very important topics it's trying to correct. I get it. But like at the end of the day, like I remember thinking there are things about the story I would change to make it more personally interesting. Like, I want to know more about the company behind the substance. I want to know more about the people and why they didn't care about Elizabeth. I want to know more about like the nitty gritty about their transition from Elizabeth to Sue. That, like, those things really interested me, but that wasn't the point. The point was like youth versus old, because, and I'll make this point about the substance too. The story, while it's about beauty standards, the story is also a straight commentary on like how we in our youth do what Sue was doing to Elizabeth the entire movie. We do that just in a much slower fashion. So it's like I could be smoking cigarettes all day, every day for the next decade, and I might minorly look different. But when I'm 55, I might have lung cancer. You know, and it's like my youth was taking away from my age, and I didn't like. And it's like it's something that's so slow, and it's something that you might not even think about in the moment. But in the movie, it was so like it's very quick. Like it's obviously like it's very drastic, and it's meant to comment on it in a not comedic, but like in a very. It was a really good body horror. Like I said, I was grossed out. It was a really good thriller up until the ending, and it was really good. And I love the metaphors. I think it deserved a Best Picture nom. But it just felt like, and I made this metaphor, or I used this kind of just concept in my head about how I described it. It's like the whole story is, if you can imagine, it's red, and it changes to blue randomly, and it needs to be purple. Like, you know, like it can't be both unless they do mix, and unless like they work, and it just doesn't do that. It just completely switches. Like, and if the film was meant to be outlandish, which in part it is, right? But it has a very serious tone the entire film. It's a little silly, like the concept of like, you know, cellular division on like the macro level, where your entire body splits into two and you're younger and it's still you. Yeah, that's crazy. But at the end of the day, it's a very serious commentary. And then all of a sudden it gets to the end and it's just silly. And it was just like that was kind of like, it was awesome. I loved it, but it was also like that didn't fit. I feel like you have to pick a lane. Either you're going to be super spooky and like grotesque, like a body horror should be, and it's going to say something really important and be kind of serious, or it's got to be outlandish. And it just tried to be both. But
And then
anyway, sorry, I know I got off on a
you're
tangent.
good. No, you're good. He liked the movie, guys.
I did. If I listen, if I have a lot to say about a movie, I enjoyed it because I was in it. But anyway, we're gonna go up the list instead of down, because I wrote this in reverse order. Wicked, as we had talked about, came home with 2 awards on 10 nominations, which was tied for second, and the other one was The Brutalist. The Brutalist and Wicked both had 10. Emilia Perez had 13. Again, Wicked, 2 awards, one for Best Costume Design and one for Best Production Design. Moving up the line, another winner is The Brutalist. As always, we have to list Adrian Brody. It came in second at the Oscars, taking home 3 Academy Awards off of 10 nominations. As I said, Best Actor, Adrian Brody; Best Cinematography, which was Law Crawley; and Best Original Music Score, which is Daniel Bloomberg. And then, so I actually do have a question for you, real quick, Jake, about The Brutalist. Did AI? So we talked about earlier Emilia Perez, and we talked about how there's a lot of impact on its Oscar chances just recently, based off of its controversies, whether that's Twitter, whether that's AI. The Brutalist had a very similar instance of AI. In fact, it was the exact same company that some Ukrainian company called Renoiser or something. I can't remember off the top of my head. Did these AI controversies hurt its chances at winning more awards? Because this, again, you had Emilia Perez, and then it was The Brutalist, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, so maybe, but I still think like it won the ones it needed to, and I didn't think Anora was its competition for Best Picture. I thought Brutalist had it all the way, but I can't really think about what awards it might have won otherwise. Like I don't think it was looking at the awards it did win, I don't think it was rigged because I don't think it would have won those awards if it was rigged.
Yeah.
So Adrian, I like I said, I haven't watched it. I have no doubt in my mind that he is best actor in that role for this year. Best cinematography, I'm not sure, but I believe it. A24, right? And that
Yeah.
they're awesome to begin with, and I'm not sure anything about Daniel Bloomberg, but Blumberg.
I think I
Bloomberg?
said Bloomberg.
So, and best original musical score, which I've not heard, but I can only assume that a movie like this, a drama with Brody and A24, it's got to be good. So there's nothing that jumps out at me that says that it shouldn't have. Um, and if it was hurt by any means, maybe it lost Best Picture, maybe. But Anora was good. It's
Yeah.
not like I'm gonna say that it was going up against nothing and it was rigged because it didn't win. No, it had contenders, um, and so therefore I think it's a commendable fight. Shake your hands, may the best win, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect transition because our last winner is Anora. I don't know if that was a shocker to anybody. We talked about it essentially all night, just in spades, and now we're going to focus on it. But to conclude the conversation on the Brutalist, and unless you have anything to add, and please do, um, I felt like it did. I felt like the Brutalist was one of those, like, I heard of Anora and its hype train when it first came out, or like around the time in last summer when it was just starting its marketing campaign. And then it was the Brutalist, right? Like Wicked came out and that's all everyone was talking about. Then it was like, oh, the Brutalist. It was making its money despite being in 5 theaters, right? And everyone was talking about the Brutalist everywhere you saw, like, because after Anora was done, it was done, like with its campaign, other than it just trying to win awards. Um, so I really do I feel like the Brutalist, if not for, I think Emilia Perez was probably going to win, and then I think the Brutalist was kind of like that second fiddle, and then all of a sudden the Brutalist gets caught in literally down to the company the exact same problem that, and now I think we talked about this before on the show, that what the Brutalist did with AI, not a big deal. I don't think so. Like, I think that changing certain syllables and words to make it sound more authentic, that doesn't change the performance, right? Like, you can argue it does a little, but like Adrian Brody still should have won Best Actor. Changing how high a vocal range is for a performer in a musical, that's a big difference. That is a huge no-no because that is very, very distinctly impacting the performance, which is what Emilia Perez did. They combined Gascon's, like, her vocal range with a pop icon in France who also wrote the music for the movie, so that Gascon's character could have a higher vocal range. That is completely altering the performance because it's a musical, right? Like, if you can't sing it, don't. If you can't hit that vocal range but you're still cast, just do what you can because at the end of the day, at least it's authentic. So I think that it did, and I think it was simply because it's like the conversation around AI is constant and it's a lot of negativity. And all of a sudden, a very similar thing happens as what happened with Emilia Perez happens with the Brutalist. And I think it's like we can't cherry pick at this point because they're so close together and they're so close to the Academy, like the awards, that we just have to make a stance here. And so I do think Anora was the third choice. However, as you can attest, Jake, now we're transitioning here. I said after I watched it, I thought it was Best Picture. I just gonna give myself a little pat on the back. It just seemed like Best Picture to me. It just, like, it's so beautiful, and we talked about it before. Um, it's they. I should say they. Letterboxd, which if you don't follow Letterboxd, you have to get on there. It's a social media site for reviewing films and TV shows. It's so good. But they also have a very strong social media presence. They actually interviewed Conan O'Brien, Conan, on the red carpet. And they asked him his 4 favorite films, and he made a great statement. And I cannot remember what film, but it was talking about Eastern European, how their stories are usually told, or just European stories, how, especially back way in the day, they were told from the perspective of, even if you have a problem and no matter what those characters do to fix it, things just get worse. True tragedies. That's what Anora is. Everything Anora she tries to do to fix her problems, it makes it worse. And it's so real and it's so raw and you just fit into that story so perfectly. Like, it's genuinely like a play. I felt like I was watching a theatrical play, and not very many movies do that. And I just thought it was so beautiful. And for that effort, indie film connoisseur Sean Baker, who directed, edited, wrote, and produced the film, won an award for all 4 things. In fact, he ties a record. Some places say it was the record. I saw recently from Deadline that it tied the record for most awards taken away from a single Oscars event ever. So Sean Baker, who I don't know if I've heard about him before, Anora, walks in to Neon, and Neon gets its second best picture in 5 years, with the last one being Bong Joon-ho's Parasite. So, I mean, this is a big deal. The film was not that expensive to make, only cost $6 million to produce, and earning $40 million in the box office, which that $40 million number is also one of the lowest earning Oscar-winning pictures ever. So this is, I don't know, I think that this is a big day for cinema, because in a true indie film goes into the Oscars and it sweeps. I don't care everything else you can say about whatever. I still will say that it probably was its 3rd choice. However, it deserves it. This is the 4th Palme d'Or winner to also win the best picture at the Oscars. And I think it deserves every single praise it gets. I think the only films in the last 5 years that beat it are Parasite and Oppenheimer. And you're not going to compare to the two. Let's just be real. You're just not. But to be in the conversation is ridiculous. I just think it's such a strong commentary on just what is known as the male gaze in cinema, but related with that, which is a quote kind of made by Laura Mulvey in her essay from the 80s talking about sexuality in film. And it's so it's so I don't know, it's just so pressing. It's sad. It is so tragic, and it's you just you want the best. And exactly what you said earlier, justice for Igor, because you want Igor, because you could just tell, like we said earlier, he just seems like he wants to just hold her. And it's it's not even like he's fallen in love with her. It's he's just a good guy. He's I just want to help you, but he can't. And it's just seeing that, you just long for these characters, not even for them to be together, right? You're just
I just wanted Igor to leave. I just wanted him to just go on and live Igor's life
yeah.
and leave Honora alone. And yeah, he's gonna have to work for the Russian oligarchs and big whoop. Igor's been doing fine on his own so far. But I was just let's get away from this situation, Igor. You don't need all that drama, bro. He's one of my bros now, and I'm Igor, just get out of there,
I
dude. You don't need
know.
all that.
And if you
You don't need all
notice,
that.
and I hate to give spoilers, but just pause it here if you don't want to listen. We're way past our time on this, but I don't care. It's so there are only 2 characters to see Anora as herself, and they call her Anora. So throughout the entire film, so she is a exotic dancer who she does get paid for sex. So she's a sex worker by her love interest, and it's tragic because her persona that she gives to everybody else is Annie. The name of the film is Anora, but she calls herself Annie, and everyone who doesn't really throughout the film, at least from my perspective, those who don't really respect her, don't see her as a person, they call her Annie. 2 people called her Anora, and that was the all of Russian oligarchs' families, their priest that they have charged with watching their son Ivan, who Anora falls in love with, and Igor. Igor is I like the name Anora, and it's because he sees her humanity. No one else did. There's no bad guy in the film. It's not like they see her as less, although the Russian oligarchs do. But really, they're there because they know their son, and everyone's trying to warn her that the entire film, Anora, he doesn't love you. He didn't want to marry you. He just wanted to stick it to his parents. You have to not listen, and she doesn't. And it's so tragic, and it's so human. It's got one of the most that final scene, which I won't spoil that. I'll just let you know it's coming. It stuck with me because it's just so powerful, man. It's so, because you think about, she fell in love. She had everything she could have ever wanted, even to wealth. I don't necessarily think that her character got into that for the wealth, but it's she felt loved, she felt seen, she felt taken care of for the first time in her life. And that last scene, it's gone. And that is just so, I watched that film, and I immediately was talking to Jake here and another one of our buddies, and I was this is best picture. And I think I even said that last week, so I hope that's on recording somewhere. But yeah, it's so powerful. And to make it even better to boot, Sean Baker is an inspiration, man, especially to like us who want to like make film and like especially indie film. It's kind of crazy. So Baker, he made a heartfelt plea for audiences to save the movie-going experience, I should say, when accepting his Best Director award, saying, quote, movie theaters, especially independently owned theaters, are struggling. During the pandemic, we lost 1,000 screens in the U.S. We continue to lose them regularly. If we don't reverse this trend, we'll be losing a vital part of our culture. This is my battle cry. Filmmakers keep making films for big screen. I know I will. Again, I just think that the fact that Anora won and not just won Best Picture. I said if it won Best Picture, that was a big win for cinema. It swept. That's a big win just for creators everywhere because it shows you can be creative, make an adult-centered film. You don't have to tailor to kids. You don't have to tailor to action, classic Hollywood cinema, none of it. You can make what you want and you could still be recognized. Jake, what are your thoughts just about everything? Sean Baker, my monologue, all of it.
Go Sean Baker. I mean, to be director, editor, writer, awesome, because he took home, not to discount best female lead with is it Mickey Madison?
Mikey.
Mikey Madison. Not gonna take away from her. That I mean, Sean Baker, great director, editor, and writer, but like she counts for one of those four. Awesome performance.
Oh my gosh, she lives that character. Like I would have thought
Yes.
that she was from New York. Like really.
Yeah, she made me, and there were often times where like she got on my nerves just because like just the way that she approached conversations and escalated what controversy, not controversy, but like conflicts, like
Yeah.
escalated the conflicts. It was like, oh my gosh, man, I just wish everybody would shut up. And like it's one of those movies that like everybody's yelling at one time, and and that's part of the editing and how they edit faster during those moments to really make you irate. But I'm gonna finish this idea off with telling you that the largest sweep in Oscar history was 2003's The Lord of the Ring: Return of the King. It got Best Picture, Director, Adapted Screenplay, Art Direction, Makeup, Costume Design, Film Editing, Original Score, Original Song, Sound Mixing, and Visual Effects. It won 11 at the Oscars in
Jeez.
2004.
That's 11 of 13.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how many they were doing in 2004. It was it 13?
I guess. I mean, that's what they did. I'm pretty sure
There's one that
13
was like
awards.
new,
Maybe it was.
newer.
I mean, 11 of 12. That'd be
I
even.
mean,
Wow.
so it's winning awards in every nominated category, 11. So largest sweep.
Wow.
And it still holds the record according to IMDb, most Oscars won by a film. It's also the longest title of a film to win an Oscar for Best Picture. It's also a world record.
That's
So it is a really long title, but
what a man. I mean, take it if you can, I guess, but man.
yeah, so that is your true clean sweep is Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. But to see Anora get 4, yeah, I was talking about it earlier today at work. I was like, it's crazy. Won 4.
They won
You know,
5. If you
5.
4,
Sorry.
4 for Sean Baker, 1 for Mikey.
Okay, yeah, sorry, 5. So crazy.
$6
Awesome
million,
movie.
man. $6 million budget.
Which, give me $6 million. No,
Dog.
but he did great. Honestly, Mikey did great. Igor, I love you.
Igor, my guy.
Igor. So if you haven't watched this film, try to get your hands on it. I don't even know. Let me put y'all on
Apple
it.
TV for $7. You can rent it.
I was gonna say let us put you on it. Apple TV says $5.99, YouTube $5.99, Prime
$6.
$5.99. If you want to wait till it's free, wait till it's free, but you have to watch it eventually.
Just quick content warning on that. First 40 minutes, there's a lot of sex, just straight up. I'm not even gonna try to sugarcoat
Straight
it.
booba.
Yeah, like a lot of stuff going on. It went like in the moment I was even like, man, this is almost too much. But then like when you finish it, you're like, it makes sense. Like there's not a moment wasted in the entire film, but it is a lot. So if you've got children or you're prying eyes that might not need to see that yet, maybe not, or you just can't handle that, don't watch it. But once you get to about 38 minutes, and it's not even a joke. Once you get to 38 minutes, it really kicks off, and it's so good. But I think that's a great place for us to We're going to go to I think this is going to be a legit quick hits this time. We never hit quick, but we're going to come back with segment 3, your quick hits. Hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Screen. You've made it to segment 3. It was a crazy long break. We had to catch our breath after a winded second segment. I think that was our longest second segment to date, almost an hour chit-chatting.
We can almost claim that it's the Oscar special at this point.
We can if we wanted to, but we're not. So you know what we're going to follow that up with? We're going to follow it up with more Oscar conversation. But before we do that, I can actually look at you beautiful people and I can tell you what I think. Thank you for being here. Thank you so much for listening, for watching. Now you can watch us on Spotify and YouTube because Spotify has video concepts. Thank you so much. Cannot thank you enough for being here. Just like, share, subscribe, do your whole thing, follow. Tell us what you think. Leave a comment. Tell me that, you know, my room is messy and my hair looks bad. Or, you know, whatever.
Yeah, nice craft room, bro.
Thanks, dude. I have to plant my flag somewhere, and I do it in the guest room, in the extra space, okay? But anyway, thank you so much again, because if you're here, if you're listening to this, you're a ways in this, and so I really appreciate you, so thank you very much. And on that note, back to film news, actual film news, not Oscar-related, except for this first story.
He lies, man.
Right off the bat. Leading up to the Oscars, before Sunday, 4 anonymous Oscar voters admitted to have never seen Dune 2 and continued to describe that they refused to place it on their first picture ballot, with one stating, quote, "The first Dune, I couldn't get through it. I'm not rushing for another 3 hours of Dune." This is directly after it was revealed that Ralph Fiennes lost votes for Best Actor for his performance in Conclave due to the belief that he had won it before. So they instead voted for Adrian Brody, who has won it before. What is happening?
My man Adrian, bro, he perseveres.
Yeah, that's what it was. Man, justice for Ralph Fiennes. Okay, this man delivers in Conclave, and they're like, just say you don't want to vote for him. Just say you don't have to make up some excuse. He's won it before, so I want to vote for someone new. Adrian Brody. Like, what are you talking about?
It's crazy.
It breaks
also
my heart, man.
Well, there's a level of okay, look. Okay, 4 anonymous Oscar voters. If you're allowed to vote on the Oscars, I feel like there's a heightened level of responsibility to watch what's on the ballot.
It's your job.
Yeah. So and it's a little hypocritical of me to say that. Like, I can't get my hands on a lot of stuff, and I have a film podcast with my buddy talking about the Oscars. But this is a little bit bigger deal. I did my best, and next year I will be watching all of them. I'm going to try and get into theaters of all of them to really get it. But that's kind of like your job. Like, it's not it is if you're in the Academy of, I had it up, but I don't know how many people are actually, several hundred or hell, more than 10,500 accomplished film industry artists and leaders across 18 branches, acting, directing, cinematography, all your branches get to vote on this. What the hell? You know,
I know.
Why wouldn't you watch what's on the ballot?
Well, it's like, give yourself a little bit of leeway, because one, it's not your job. Like, you're not getting paid to watch these things. These are industry professionals, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they might not be getting paid.
Yeah.
They're probably not getting handed a check, right? But they're probably getting in for free. Their job is in the film industry, and they're tasked with voting for the biggest awards for film in the world. And you're not watching one of the biggest pictures of the past year, one of the highest hyped, like, Best Picture nominees on the ballot. And because you didn't like the first one, 4 of them.
Because it was too long. It wasn't even just because they didn't like it. It was just too long. Like, what do you mean?
I can relate to you in the fact that, like, I didn't get to watch them all either because of a lot of the same problems. I work a full-time job. I have a life. I don't get paid to watch them. I have to pay to watch them. So it's tough. It's tough for me and you. And it's tough for everyone else to have seen them all. But at the end of the day, if your job is that, if you're an industry professional, you're tasked again with picking the best of the best. You have to know. You have to watch. It doesn't matter if you don't like it. If you've seen it, okay? If you've watched it and you say, for me, that's not Best Picture, I can't argue with you. At the end of the day, you're a media professional. You sat down and you watched it. I can say, you know what? I disagree, but that's just my opinion. But the fact that I have more over an actual voter, bonkers.
I sat through Flow. You can sit through Dune.
That's what I'm saying.
So,
Anyway.
um, and like Batman wasn't and Oppenheimer weren't those super long movies?
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't think it was length there.
Well,
back to Timothy. They hating on the dog. They hating on
what I will
bro.
say is that Oppenheimer was so cut and dry. I think that this one was
Mm,
just like there were so many different options, and maybe it's because the same voters they don't have to watch all of them because they know who's going to win. You know, like maybe the back to what we were talking about. There has to be some sort of standard set that is better than the one we got because you got voters like this and you got subjectivity that makes it difficult moving goalposts for films to win versus others. Not to say that Flow had any preferential treatment, but I definitely think that the Oscars went out of their way to make sure it could win. Anyway, I just wanted to clarify that because we've done a lot of Flow hatred on here, and I think it's a beautiful film. I did not mean to hate on it.
yeah.
I'm just saying that is what's happened. If you really take into it. Anyway, moving down the line, this probably would have been a major story had it not been Oscar weekend. Kathleen Kennedy reported to step down as Star Wars CEO, but on her terms. There's like a big media push and a report that was like, Kathleen Kennedy no longer in Star Wars, and the whole fan base went, yippee!
Yeah, the rejoice of
Yeah.
all the Star Wars fans and everybody. I mean, South Park was like, because they made an episode making fun of where Cartman became Kathleen Kennedy, and
Yeah.
the whole making fun of the woke. But yeah, everybody was happy.
Yeah.
And then
It felt like she was like on her way out the door and she heard the giant, like the hooplas and the hoorays in the back. And she said, you know what? I've got another year. And everyone, collectively, everyone went, oh, yeah. Everyone got so sad. So she says, quote, I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies. And she is still producing several of the upcoming Star Wars projects. So what is really happening? And again, I like to think that she was like, all right, Disney, I'm Mickey, Sir Mouse, I'm done. I'm walking away. Again, she turned her back and she heard the hoopla and she went, never mind. And so it's like that. I love that's not what happened. There was a plan in place. So the discussion is that there will be a succession plan. So she will be there for more than a year before anything's set. So they're going to take their time, do their due diligence, which I think is probably the correct move, to be honest, as much as I want her gone. I think that is probably the correct thing to do, is to say, all right, let's chill. But this is where things get a little interesting. So despite stepping down, even after she is seceded and she gets replaced, she will remain with Lucasfilm to assist whoever replaces her. And in an interview with Deadline, she was asked about this plan and about like what's in place and do you have any say in it. She said, they were asked like who's making that decision. She said confidently, Kennedy said, me, it's my decision. This is 100% my decision. So Kathleen Kennedy gets to choose who replaces her after a year working with Disney, making a succession plan. If you believe her,
it's one of those. It's one of those. I think I'll do it.
Yeah. Who's my best replacement? It's me. You know, like, yeah. Yeah.
To point straight at her. Yeah, this is gonna be like, nope, I think I can do it best.
It's gonna be like we're gonna get to a year from now, and she's gonna say, you know what, I can do it another year. And we're gonna get like it's gonna be. So there are also rumors that Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau are the two people who are like kind of tabbed, and those are the two most obvious. Like if you're gonna pick two names, who's gonna replace Kathleen Kennedy? It's gonna be two of their most prolific creators, right? I will say, I think those two understand Star Wars better. So at least there's that. I don't know if I'd go either of them because I think they're too niche. I think Dave Filoni would be a lot better than Favreau. I think Favreau has a very specific, like, you think of like, he made Mando, the Mandalorian. Like you think of like the style of that. I think that everything Star Wars he creates is very similar. Whereas Filoni has made everything from the Clone Wars to just all, obviously that's his baby, but like he's hopped around a little bit. And I know there's a lot of problems with Filoni too, but I think he would really understand it. But I don't really care who replaces her. I just don't think she gets the franchise, man. And I get a little anxious. Like my anxiety spikes a little bit when she's like, I'll still be around. It's like,
just
yeah,
gulp.
yeah. Can you go do something else, please?
Yeah.
But no, I think that's a good jumping off point, we're going to go into our next segment. Not only did we officially get news about Zendaya's casting as Shrek's daughter in the fifth installment in the Shrek franchise, we also, if you've been paying attention, you might have noticed a new teaser trailer, and the internet did not like it. There's some division. I've seen some people say, hey, chill out, it's not bad. And I've heard other people say, this is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. Before I say how I feel, because I talk a lot, Jake, tell me what you thought about the new look Shrek.
So I don't like it, obviously. And one small thing is, I did see people point out that so Zendaya is going to be playing the daughter of Shrek, which I stole the thunder from Ryan. He was going to announce that. Her eye color is different than the previous movies. It's one small feature that did change. Big feature that did change. Shrek he's less hairy. He doesn't have eyelashes. His pores are gone. The photo in this BBC article that Ryan sent me, Fiona doesn't have teeth.
It is a teaser. It is a teaser. So we
it is
give
a teaser.
Give it some grace.
And then I'll leave with the final is they showed this family, or maybe not Shrek's daughter, but like we saw Donkey, we saw Shrek, and we saw Fiona in Puss in Boots, the latest Puss in Boots. Like there was, I don't know if it was credit scene or if it was somewhere in the movie, and they looked, I mean, newer animation style, but they looked like their old selves. This completely new. They're trying to polish it off. It is I mean, that's not Donkey. I'm looking at the photo right here. Because we're now a video presence, I'll be able to put a photo up on YouTube and hold me to that promise. Leave it in the comments if I forget, and I will edit it. But that is not my Donkey. So that is not him. That is some random donkey I've never seen before. So
yeah,
I don't like it. And I mean, is it the worst thing I've seen? Is it Sonic level bad where he had two separate eyes? I don't think so. I think
depends on
but
who you ask.
depends on who you, but like I looked at old Sonic and I was like, "Whoa, that is definitely not Sonic." And I'm glad that they changed it. This, I don't think it's quite that much, but it's not good. Um so
It doesn't
Ryan?
it doesn't look like Shrek. I mean, like that's kind of like my takeaway. I see all sides. I understand that the first film is 20, almost half or a quarter century old. Like it's, it's an old animated feature, and the things are gonna like adapt. And people use Puss in Boots as a good example because that film, the animation, he looks so different. Like he does, but he looks good, right? Like at the end of the day, like while the animation is different, he still is Puss in Boots. Like you look at him and you like, and it was fantastic. It was the same animation as Beyond the Spider-Verse, that comic book style, and it looked really good. And I think
But
it
he
fit
looked like him. Like I
right.
could look at a photo of him side by side and be like, "Yeah, that's the same guy."
Yeah, right.
This this is like bro's cousin.
Yeah, I saw. So one, it is the teaser. I want to just give that defense a little bit, and two, there's still a chance to change it. But the biggest thing is that I was watching a creator, and what they had done is they took a screenshot and they just all that they did was take his eyes and they just moved him just a little bit farther apart, and he looked like Shrek again. Like
Yeah.
despite all the changes, his eyes are just too close together. I think
I
that
saw one go into more depth and like gave him eyelashes and thickened his eyebrows, darkened his eyebrows.
yeah,
And then I think they did something with his neck area or his chin area, and then it was like, "Oh, yeah, that's him."
looks like
Yep.
Shrek.
It
Yeah,
a little bit more honestly, and a lot of people were saying that the old films look more uncanny valley than this one does. And that's what they miss. Like Shrek had pores, he had eyelashes, he had like really thick, like broom bristle eyebrows.
yeah.
And this guy he got his eyebrows done in this teaser photo. Like those are perfectly cut. Like okay, you have a wife now, I guess you can.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
had a
She's
wife, but this is the first time she's plucked his eyebrows, I guess.
God, the wax. Just,
Yeah, so and I don't know what she's done with her teeth in this photo.
yeah.
But
I will say I have some gripes with the gripes to Shrek. The biggest one, because I think that there will be some adjustments. If it's the same on release, I'm gonna be disappointed because it doesn't look like Shrek. It's just not. You can update like Puss in Boots and it look fine. This is not that. The bigger takeaway, people are complaining about the TikTok rip, like in the riff and the joke. That's what Shrek has always done. I like there are things that I will disagree there are things that I agree with, I should say. I'm sorry. That I'm like, that's bad. That needs to change. That looks bad. The TikTok joke, that's all Shrek is. It's taking riffs and jokes from what is happening in society around the time it was made. It's a satire. It's Shrek. The villain in the first one was named Lord Farquaad. What do you think that's supposed to represent? What does Farquaad sound like?
Dude, it beats me. I thought it was just some short guy.
No.
What is it?
The joke is F-wad, like when you call someone that's literally, they wanted to call him Lord that and they couldn't, so they called him Farquaad.
Oh. See, I thought it was like a political figure, and I was like, dude, over my head, I have no idea who was doing stuff back in 2001. I was like, I don't know who they were making fun of.
That was it. That was the joke. And I'm sure there's some other deeper political statement. There's a ton of them in there. They're always like there's in Shrek 2, they joke about OJ's Bronco and they get pepper sprayed, and it's like it's hilarious, right? They always do that. They've always done that, and so it's a little bit disheartening to see like people that grew up and are around our age who grew up with Shrek like us be like, TikTok, that's cringe, and it's like, dude, when was the last time you actually watched them? You know,
dude,
like
that's cringe.
Dude, that's cringe. TikTok and Shrek, dude, that's cringe.
God.
It's like anytime any character in a movie is like of age of like, and they use like their generation's lingo in a film like they would in real life, people are like, ew, and it's like, dude, they're kids. Like that's the point. Anyway,
also, is he a different shade of green?
Yes, he is. That's the other good point.
Yeah. I'm looking like side by side right now, and this guy's like washed out. Like the green is turning olive, whereas Shrek used to be like he's pretty bright. Like he was pretty good lime, or
he got
I don't
a
even know what you call
tan.
that green. I guess that's what it is, man. You're getting old. That's what everybody says. He's like, he's just older. I was like, I don't remember old age making you do that.
Bro, does old age make my eyes grow closer together?
Dude, you're screwed if not.
No.
Or if so, sorry.
No. Anyway, if you grow old, I'll see to that. Anyway, our final topic, an hour and a half in, we're going to wrap this thing up, get you guys back home safe and sound, tucked in bed. Last one, AMC CEO is hoping to convince major studios to keep films in theaters longer, stating, quote, the old 74-day window became a 45-day window, and some movies have gone quicker to 30 days or 17. Thoughts?
So it does boil down to capitalism and movie theaters being able to keep old films like that. I mean, you're booking a what do they call it? A booth, or a whole theater for a movie 74 days afterward, when you've got other films that you could be showing at several different time slots. But oh man, I've got Oppenheimer back here on its 77th day, and I was like, man, I could take that out and put in I don't know, Captain
Shrek
America.
5.
Put in another Captain America, another Shrek 5. I can at least make money off of a 7 o'clock and an 8 o'clock and a 9 o'clock time slot, instead of, oh man, I gotta split it 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock. So it does boil down to like AMC, and this is an AMC CEO saying this, so he's fully aware of those consequences of holding movies longer. So, what is his statement? You say he just made a statement. It wasn't necessarily an opinion, good or bad.
I mean, he was like in an interview with, I'm pretty sure it was Deadline. He was asked like, what are you trying to do? Because it's not like you can quietly go up to distributors and say, Let me hold your movie longer. Like it's
Too
something.
short.
Yeah.
Yeah, he says too short. So by all means, man, if you think you can still strive off of longer windows to keep movies in your theaters, uh, go for it. I just surface level, not knowing how to run a movie theater at all, that would be the first hurdle. Is like, yeah, I could put in a more popular one and get another time slot,
Yeah.
or I can hold Oppenheimer for 77 days and
Yeah.
only make 400K a week off of it, which is money, I
Yeah.
guess. Money you wouldn't have, but how much money could you get with the new movie, like another Captain America showing? You have to weigh it, and I worry about that business decision because of that.
So this immediately makes me think of what was Mel Gibson's last film with it literally just came out with Mark Wahlberg. Um, I'm blanking on its name, and I'm trying to find Flight Risk.
Yeah.
Do you really want Flight Risk in your theaters for 3 months? Like 75 days, okay, a month, 2.5 months, right? Do you really want Flight Risk from Mel Gibson in your theaters for 75 days? Because the
Well,
thing,
Trump said he's one of the three ambassadors of Hollywood, dude.
people will come out. Trust me. Trust me. Trust me.
Oh, but finish your thought because I'm pondering about it now and I have a thought about it. So
No, I
keep
mean
going.
that's really it though. Is that like it's like okay, like there are certain films. I think that it's a case by case basis. I think that the streaming age has kind of ruined the idea of like the romance movie in theaters that makes a bunch of money and then you can like go to I think it was Matt Damon I think that made a comment on some talk show. Oh no, he was on Hot Ones. And he was asked about like DVDs versus streamers now, like the difference. And he was talking about how back in the day, half of your budget or half of your revenue came from DVD sales. So it's like you get a lump sum after the movie came out and a lump sum 6, 8 months later. That doesn't exist anymore. So films like what Matthew McConaughey used to do all the time, movies like think about those like rom coms in particular. They're not possible now because if they're in your theater for 75 days, no one's going to see it because Netflix probably has a deal with it, like Hulu, Max. So I think if you're wanting to get Anora, if you're wanting to get Oppenheimer, if you're wanting to get Wicked in your theaters for 75 days, you're going to do that now. You're like, Wicked is still in theaters now. We're well beyond 75 days. So it's like, I just kind of feel like while I completely agree with it, it's like, yeah, of course, like preferential treatment to movie theaters. Yes, please. How much of a difference is it going to make other than what's already established? Because Netflix isn't going away.
Right. So it is. So piggybacking off of that, it probably is a case by case basis. Whereas Oppenheimer can stay in for 77 days, whereas Nazar stayed in for 3 weeks.
20,
Um,
20 days at most, and then get him out
maybe.
of here. It's just the
Yeah, and
movie theaters get nope.
it wasn't released at the same time as it was in China. It was released a month and a half later, and then didn't stay in. I mean, it's March 3rd now. It didn't stay in a month. It, it
Chinese media outlets were like, it made $2 billion in 2 weeks.
and then
Like
everybody was like, "Take that Chinese garbage out of my theater," It released on February 14th, and it is not in this week's box office mojo, and it was last week. What does that tell you? Not even 3 weeks,
that's
right?
that's a. I feel like that example could be politically powered too for the answer. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
So, um, there you go. There's your way. But yeah, so if if theaters have a time slot open and are willing to put Oppenheimer on the back burner for a whole 77 days and still cash 400,000 off of it, and I'm just going off of that an example for this week alone. I didn't even know Oppenheimer was still in theaters, and that's also what you have to keep in mind is like, who are these people
Yeah.
going and watching Oppenheimer this late? I don't know. It is on streaming. You can find it on HBO.
Have you heard of this new film Oppenheimer?
Yeah, it's old heads.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with being an elderly person. Finding out about Oppenheimer for your first time. And I'm pointing to Ryan. He is one of those.
You're being age
elderlies.
phobic, bro.
It's the ripe old age of 24,
Hmm.
which I will be 23
You made me
by the
feel
time
so old, man.
we film next week.
Mm.
So there you go. You
Happy
guys
birthday.
can wish me happy birthday. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then
You
that's
gotta
all I have to
comment
say.
now. You gotta wish him happy birthday. Thank you, Jake. You just gave a
Yeah,
reason. Now you don't even have to quote anything movie. You don't have to ask us a question. You don't have to just wish Jake a happy birthday.
yeah.
Let him know.
Or you still have to comment, but you can tell me how much you don't care that it's my birthday. You can be negative about it. I'll take those too. Any attention is good attention for me.
And on that note, I was going to ask you your final thoughts, but I think that's a good stopping point because
That's a thought.
that's a hole to dig out of, and I'm going to let you do that between now and
With your
next episode.
therapist.
Yeah, with your therapist. You talk to somebody. Anyway, that's been our show. It's our first audio visual experience.
Mhm.
If you liked what you saw, if you want to see more, hit that like. If you want to see me in my storage space again, him in his living room, feel free to like. We'll see you next week, and stay safe, everybody. Goodbye.